because it's twice, receiving his wages according to each his labor. That comes up in verse 8. And then in verse 14, he will receive a reward.
Right.
So, what did you wanted to talk about?
That can be where people try to think of, that proves that there's like graded rewards in heaven. That some status will get, if I do more for God on earth, I'll get more in heaven. I don't think that's what he's saying there. I think he's just saying this is the nature of things. You get a reward because you've done well. So I don't think it's like a graded thing. Like, because Billy Graham had a more faithful or productive ministry maybe than I did, he's going to have, the bigger mansion in heaven.
Bigger mansion?
Yeah, the bigger mansion. It's that kind of mentality. Or the crown that he lays at Jesus' feet will be greater than the crown I lay at Jesus' feet. I mean, if anyone is, it's probably going to be his, but what's some other things? Yeah, I mean, people want to make a lot of the gold, the precious stones, all that kind of stuff. But I think that,
That was funny. I hadn't heard that before.
Oh, yeah. No, if there's more than 3 of something, people are honestly, if there's more than 1 of something, people are going to try to turn it into a list.
I mean, so can we give him, to be fair, in like some of the prophecies in Daniel, talking about the clay and the gold, and like that's actually, there's some prophetic stuff.
Yeah, but
that
this isn't prophecy. This is just writing. This is exposition.
Yeah. So,
and a lot of those, by the way, are clarified.
Yeah,
their meanings are given. So
in
the prophecy.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to someone who maybe is not versed in Scripture.
Yeah,
they're like, oh yeah, so therefore at all times when there's a list of things.
Yeah, and that's one of the tough things is when do you kind of drop out and drop in? When it's because you can do that.
I agree.
Mid book, you can drop in and drop out of like literal versus metaphorical and allegory and imagery and imagination, and so. That's a tough one. I'm just saying in this particular one, I think the point is some things last and some things don't.
Yeah, and I'm sympathetic to the degree that someone might look at this as a layperson and start to read it and be like, oh, maybe I've heard something, and start to think that way. Yeah. But as far as a teacher,
that's funny. You said I'm sympathetic to the layperson. My first brain went, but I'm unsympathetic to the teacher. So
that was exactly the point I'm making.
So that's probably because you're a better pastor than me, so that probably helps. So.
No, there's a foundation.
Oh my gosh, you didn't even say no. You do a good job. You just said no.
No. I'm trying to say nice things.
What else? No, I mean it's all pretty. I mean, and the heavy. Oh, we talked about like the gift of God and the grace of God, and Paul's now introducing this charisma, this charis word, and there's a lot that gets subtly introduced into this. So that plays out.
When is that?
In 10, he says, according to the grace of God given me. So he says, like he's saying is, I have been given godly gifts, supernatural gifts, and I use them appropriately. So he subtly talks about his own supernatural gifts. Yeah.
As opposed to what they're doing with their gifts.
As opposed to their use of supernatural gifts, which are self-serving. He says, I use my supernatural gifts to build a foundation of the Lordship of Jesus Christ in your lives.
Yeah.
So it's weird because we have a different concept of like humility and bragging and saying things directly. So a lot of times I read Paul and I'm like, that's kind of...
He's saying things plainly.
Well, he's saying things plainly, but I'm like, dude, you really think pretty high of yourself there, bro.
He's inspired by the Spirit of God,
but
man.
It's just different. I mean, I don't know that I would have said it that way, but.
I also like the, I really, really appreciate when we talked about verse 16, that do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? That both adequately demonstrating how that fits in the passage and thinking about what I was thinking, which is like, all right, separating that from what he will talk about. But it's interesting he uses similar language.
It does, and I think that's one of the struggles people have with Paul is he'll use similar language, but he's not talking about the same thing. Gift is a big version of that. So he uses gift differently in Romans than he does in Corinthians than he does in Ephesians. But he uses the word gift. So everyone says what he's talking about in Romans 12 must be exactly what he's talking about in 1 Corinthians 12, must be exactly what he's talking about in Ephesians 4. No, he's saying these are different expressions of the Spirit. What do they all have in common? They're kind of like a gift. So what he's saying in 1 Corinthians is, I'm going to talk to you all, your congregation, and remind you that in a lot of ways you are like a temple. And then he turns around and he says, and your individual bodies are also like a temple. But he's not talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
He's just using the same analogy more than once. And that absolutely can get confusing.
Yeah, and the point you're making about using the word gift in different texts, there's different audiences and there's different occasions for writing. So we as humans today will talk and use different words for different contexts and different times, and will mean different things.
Yeah,
by
but
them.
we'll use exactly the same word. I mean, gift is an
precisely.
interesting one, because I could say, wow, you have a gift. And you're like, what do you mean? I'm not carrying a beautifully wrapped package that I'm going to give to someone else. No, I meant that you have this skill in this area that seems to come naturally to you. Okay, it's the same word. Are you saying we're not talking about the same thing? You're talking about the little motorized sound-driven cactus we gave to my niece is the same as my speaking ability? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. Okay, then why are we using it just because he used the word gift different times? We're assuming he's talking about the same conceptual concept, the conceptual framework of the word gift. It was a cute little cactus. You make noises back, and it dances.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good for today, huh?
Yeah. The cactus really killed it. So.
Sun setting on the old proverbial.
Yeah. Sun's getting low, big guy.
Yeah. Saddle up.
Actually,
it's less of a saddle up. It's more like a tally-ho or...
No, it's fading into the sunset.
Fading into the sunset. Yeah, so what would we say as we're fading into the sunset on episode?
Happy trails
we're
to
gonna sing.
You.
See?
Until we meet
You sell yourself short all the time. You can sing.
Happy trails.
You can probably play the bass.
Boom,
Boom, boom, boom.
Keep riding till the end.
Boom, boom. I don't know the
Who
song.
cares if there is rain or stormy weather? The clouds will always part when we're together. So happy trails to you until we